MrBeast's secret to success. How he makes millions. What if the biggest YouTuber in the world isn't just making videos, but quietly running one of the most efficient money-making systems on the internet? Behind the giveaways, the challenges, and the viral spectacles, Jimmy Donaldson, better known as MrBeast, has built something far more calculated than it looks. Millions come in, but instead of cashing out, he reinvests at a level that most creators would never risk. Bigger videos, higher stakes, even larger returns. But here's the real question: how does someone give away so much money and still keep making more? And more importantly, is this strategy genius or dangerously unsustainable? What if the biggest YouTuber on the planet isn't just creating content, but quietly operating one of the most aggressive reinvestment engines in modern media? Because when you look at Jimmy Donaldson, known globally as MrBeast, the giveaways, the challenges, the viral stunts, they start to feel like the surface layer of something much deeper. At first glance, the formula seems simple. Spend a lot, film it, upload it, repeat. But that simplicity is deceptive, because behind every video is a financial structure that most creators would never dare to attempt. Let's start with the core principle that defines everything he does: extreme reinvestment. Unlike traditional creators who extract profit early, MrBeast flips the model. Reports and interviews consistently indicate that a massive portion of his earnings, sometimes the majority, is funneled straight back into production. Not saved, not diversified early, reinvested. That means higher budgets, larger scale ideas, and videos that feel less like content and more like events. But here's the question that should stop you for a second. Why would someone risk that much capital on something as unpredictable as YouTube? Because in his model, bigger risk isn't a liability, it's a growth strategy. When a typical creator uploads a video, they're optimizing for cost efficiency. How to get the most views with the least spend. MrBeast does the opposite. He spends more to dominate attention. And in a platform where attention is currency, domination changes everything. Think about videos like recreating a real-life version of a survival game or giving away millions in cash and prizes. These aren't just videos. They're spectacles designed to outperform everything else in the algorithm at the same time. And the result? Massive view counts. Hundreds of millions sometimes. Which translates into ad revenue, sponsorship leverage, and brand expansion. But ad revenue alone doesn't explain the scale of his earnings. So where does the real money come from? Let's break it down. YouTube AdSense is the most obvious layer. With billions of views across his network of channels, the revenue here is substantial. Estimates vary widely depending on CPM, cost per thousand views. But even conservative calculations place his monthly ad revenue in the millions. Still, that's just one stream. The second layer is sponsorships. And this is where things get interesting. Brands don't just pay MrBeast for exposure, they pay a premium for integrations into high-impact content. Instead of traditional ads, sponsors are often woven directly into the narrative of the video. This increases retention, engagement, and brand recall. In many cases, a single sponsorship deal can be worth millions depending on the scale of the video. But here's the twist. Sponsorship money often helps fund the video itself, which means the risk is partially offset before the video even goes live. Now ask yourself, how many creators operate at a level where a brand is essentially co-financing their content at that scale? Very few, and that's where MrBeast's system starts to separate from everyone else. The third layer is where the real transformation happens. Owned businesses. MrBeast didn't stop at content. He extended his brand into products. Take Feastables, his chocolate and snack company. At first glance, it looks like a typical influencer product launch, but structurally, it's different. Instead of relying solely on third-party partnerships, Feastables is built as a standalone consumer brand with retail distribution, supply chains, and scalability. And here's the key: he uses his content as a marketing engine. He doesn't need traditional ads. He embeds promotion into videos that already get tens of millions of views. that drastically reduces customer acquisition costs, a critical factor in building profitable consumer brands. So now the system starts to look like this. Content drives attention. Attention drives sales. Sales fund more content. More content amplifies attention. It's a loop, and once that loop stabilizes, it becomes incredibly powerful. But he didn't stop there. There's also MrBeast Burger, a delivery-first food brand launched using a ghost kitchen model. Instead of building physical restaurants, the brand partnered with existing kitchens to produce and deliver food under the MrBeast name. This allowed rapid expansion with lower upfront capital compared to traditional restaurant chains. But here's the important question. Was it about food or about distribution? Because what MrBeast really did was test how far his brand could extend into the physical world. And that matters because if your audience trusts you enough to watch your videos, buy your chocolate, and order your food, you're no longer just a creator, you're a platform. Now pause for a second and think about that shift. At what point does a YouTuber stop being a YouTuber and start becoming a business ecosystem? Because that's exactly what's happening here. But none of this works without one critical factor. Retention. MrBeast's videos aren't just clicked. Carefully engineered storytelling keeps viewers engaged from start to finish. Fast pacing, constant stakes, emotional hooks, and escalating rewards, all designed to maximize watch time. Because the YouTube algorithm rewards retention. High retention leads to more recommendations. More recommendations lead to exponential reach, and exponential reach feeds the entire system. So every second of his videos isn't just entertainment. It's optimized for performance, which raises another question. Is this creativity or is this engineering? Because when you analyze it closely, it's both. And that combination is rare. Now let's talk about scale. Running this operation isn't a solo effort. MrBeast has built a team. Writers, editors, producers, analysts working behind the scenes. This transforms content creation from an individual activity into a structured production pipeline. Ideas are tested, formats are refined, data is analyzed. Underperforming elements are removed. High-performing ones are repeated and scaled. This is closer to a startup than a YouTube channel. And like any startup, growth requires capital, risk tolerance, and constant iteration. But here's where things get even more intense. The more he grows, the more expensive each video becomes, which means the stakes keep rising. And that leads to a critical tension in the system. Can you keep increasing scale without increasing risk beyond control? Because eventually, every system hits a point where growth becomes harder to sustain. So far, MrBeast has managed to push that boundary further than almost anyone expected. But the question remains, how far can it go? Because if the model depends on bigger and bigger videos, higher and higher budgets, and constant viral performance, what happens if one piece fails? Would the system absorb it, or would it feel the impact? That's the part most people don't think about. Because success at this level isn't just about growth. It's about stability under pressure. And yet, despite all of this, the machine keeps running. Videos keep getting bigger. Views keep increasing. Businesses keep expanding, which suggests something important. This isn't accidental, it's designed. But how exactly is it structured to handle that level of pressure? Where does the real leverage come from? And is this model something others can replicate? Or is it uniquely tied to MrBeast himself? Because in the next part, we're going to go even deeper into the risks, the hidden strategies, and the long-term sustainability of a system that seems almost too extreme to work, and yet somehow does. By now, you've seen the outer layer of the machine, the videos, the giveaways, the reinvestment loop. But this is where the real story begins to sharpen. Because what looks like chaotic generosity on the surface is actually built on something far more calculated. Control over attention, capital, and scale. And once you understand how Jimmy Donaldson controls those three variables, the entire system starts to make sense. Let's start with attention. Because this is the foundation of everything. Most businesses spend millions trying to capture it. MrBeast already owns it, with hundreds of millions of subscribers across multiple channels and billions of monthly views. He operates at a level where distribution is no longer a problem. It's an advantage. Every time he uploads, he's not hoping people will find his content. He's triggering a network effect that pushes it across the platform almost instantly. But here's the part most people miss. He doesn't just have attention, he engineers it. Every thumbnail is tested, every title is optimized, every frame is structured to prevent drop-off. His team studies viewer behavior with the same intensity a tech company studies user data. If a segment causes viewers to leave, it's removed. If a pattern keeps people watching, it's amplified. So ask yourself, when you're watching one of his videos and you can't click away, is that coincidence? Or is it design? Because if attention is engineered, then everything built on top of it becomes predictable. And that leads us to the second variable, capital flow. Here's where the system becomes almost counterintuitive. Traditional logic says, make money, then save or diversify it. MrBeast's logic says, make money, then immediately redeploy it into growth. This is why his videos keep getting bigger. It's not just ambition, it's reinvestment discipline. He treats content like infrastructure. Each video is an asset designed to generate returns in the form of views, subscribers, and brand leverage. But here's the tension. The more you reinvest, the less margin you keep. So why does it still work? Because his scale compensates for it. A video that costs millions to produce can still be profitable if it generates hundreds of millions of views, attracts high-value sponsors, and drives product sales. It's not about maximizing margin per video, it's about maximizing total system output, which raises an interesting question: is profit his goal, or is dominance? Because those two paths don't always align. Now let's bring in the third variable, scale. At smaller levels, this model would collapse. A new creator trying to replicate this, spending everything, relying on viral success, would likely burn out quickly. But at MrBeast's level, scale creates stability. Why? Because risk is distributed. If one video underperforms, the overall system absorbs it. Other videos, other channels, and other revenue streams compensate. This is what turns a risky strategy into a resilient one. And those revenue streams are expanding. We already talked about Feastables, but here's where it gets deeper. Feastables isn't just a product, it's a long-term brand play in the consumer goods space. Retail distribution, repeat purchases, and global expansion potential mean it could eventually operate independently of YouTube. Now think about that. What happens when one branch of the system no longer depends on the content engine, but still benefits from it? That's when you move from influence to infrastructure. Then there's the experiment that pushed boundaries even further. MrBeast Burger, while it faced operational challenges and legal complications, it revealed something important. MrBeast is willing to test models at massive scale, even if they're imperfect. He's not just optimizing existing systems, he's probing for new ones. And that mindset matters, because innovation at this level isn't about avoiding failure, it's about absorbing it without collapsing. But here's where things get even more interesting. There's a hidden layer in this entire operation that rarely gets discussed. Philanthropy as strategy. On the surface, MrBeast's giveaways and charitable acts look purely altruistic. And to a large extent, they are. But structurally, they also serve another function: amplification. Giving away money creates emotional engagement. Emotional engagement increases sharing. Sharing increases reach. And increased reach feeds back into the entire system. So now ask yourself, is the generosity the engine? Or is it part of the fuel? Because in this model, the two are interconnected. And that's what makes it so powerful and so difficult to replicate. Now let's address the question that sits underneath everything. Is this sustainable? Because a system that relies on constant escalation, bigger videos, higher budgets, more extreme concepts, faces a natural limit. Audience expectations rise, competition adapts, the novelty curve tightens. So how does MrBeast respond? By evolving the system itself. Instead of relying solely on YouTube, he's expanding into businesses, partnerships, and long-form ventures that can outlive the platform. The goal isn't just to win on YouTube. It's to use YouTube as a launchpad. And that's a critical distinction because platforms change, algorithms shift, but ownership of brands, products, and distribution channels creates stability. So the real strategy isn't just viral content, it's platform leverage leading to asset ownership. And once you see that, everything clicks into place. But let's not ignore the pressure, because maintaining this system requires constant execution. There's no pause button, no safe zone. Every upload carries expectations. Every business decision carries risk. And at this scale, even small miscalculations can have large consequences. So again, ask yourself, could most people handle that level of intensity? Could they reinvest millions without hesitation? Could they operate in a system where slowing down means falling behind? Because this isn't just a success story, it's a high-performance machine, and machines don't run themselves. Now here's where it all comes together. MrBeast's real secret isn't YouTube, it isn't giveaways, it isn't even reinvestment on its own. It's the integration of everything into a self-reinforcing loop. Content drives attention. Attention drives revenue. Revenue funds bigger content. Bigger content expands attention. And the cycle repeats. At a higher level each time, add businesses into that loop, and you get something even more powerful. Attention drives product sales. Product sales fund content. Content grows attention. And the ecosystem expands. This is no longer linear growth, it's compounding influence. And that's why he's not just making millions. He's building something that could outlast the platform that made him. So the next time you see a MrBeast video, millions of dollars given away, massive sets, extreme challenges, don't just see the spectacle, look at the structure behind it. Because what you're watching isn't just entertainment. It's a system operating in real time. And the deeper question is this: if you had the same level of attention, would you know how to turn it into something this scalable? Or would you treat it like most people do, something to enjoy rather than something to build with? Because that difference is where everything changes. Now let's bring this back to you. Do you think MrBeast's strategy is pure genius? Or is it a high-risk model that only works at his level? Which part of his system surprised you the most? The reinvestment, the businesses, or the way he engineers attention? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know how you see it. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the systems behind success, don't just watch and scroll. Like the video, share it with someone who's trying to understand how modern wealth actually works, and subscribe to CelebSpot for more cinematic breakdowns that go beyond the surface. Because here, we don't just show you who's winning. We show you how the game is really being played.